Both me and my dogs, we actually share something in common.
We were both designed to eat raw meat.
No, that's not. Dude, no way, stop. What? No.
I'm addicted to eating raw meat. It's borderline euphoric. It can feel like very primal. After I eat it, I get this urge to just kind of like howl like a wolf, you know, just like, whoo, you know? My fridge is like a horror movie.
Beef spleen?
The real game changer is when people find out that I'm eating raw chicken.
Yeah,
This
no
here
way,
just looks
stop.
like a very healthy animal.
No, don't do it, please don't do it.
Clean and pure.
Please don't do it, please don't do it.
Almost no scent coming off of it.
Please don't do it, man.
That's a sign of a very healthy piece of meat there.
Don't do it, don't do it, don't do it.
In 4 years, I've eaten about 100 raw chickens, and I've never been sick once. In fact, I've never met any other raw meat eaters in 4 years that have ever gotten sick from raw chicken.
I need like a therapist after that shit, dude.
Shalom. I want to give all the praise, honor, and glory to Yahweh Bahasham, Yahweh Shai Bahasham Rakah Kodash. Double honors to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone who taught me this truth. And double salutations to all you Akim out there laboring, the house of David, the elect, that's pushing this word with all truth, righteousness, and sincerity. Shalom to you, brothers, and shalom to the elect. I'm back with another quick lesson through the Holy Spirit of Rakah Kodash. And the spirit is subject to the spirit of who you truly are. All right. And once again, I wanted to analyze the true nature of the biblical Edomite, who he is in the spirit, the savage, the beast man. OK, and his thirst for blood. OK, because when I was watching these videos, I'm just thinking to myself, like, man, you know, when this society collapses and Jacob's trouble ensues, you know, raw animal meat is not the only meat he's going to be eating, right? He's going to resort back to his true nature. And I'm going to read this in a minute. All right. One of the brothers sent me this a couple years ago, going into this book, The Delectable Negro, Human Consumption and Homo Eroticism within U.S. slave culture, right? So you read this book, you find out that Esau was pretty much eating the slaves, all right, and many other demonic acts, all right, which we won't get all into. You can read this on your own, right? But the point I want to make, again, this is who he is by nature, all right? The spirit is revealing everything in these last days, man. All right, so I just want to make a quick point and get right to it, and that'll be the lesson. All right, but this is Job chapter 30 and verse 1. It says, but now they that are younger than I have me in derision. All right, so pretty much Esau will represent the younger, meaning, you know, first of all, you know, Jacob was chosen from the foundation of the earth. All right. He's regarded as the firstborn in the scriptures, in the spirit. All right. But he was chosen. Jacob was chosen first from the foundation of the earth. And he is the true firstborn and the rightful heir to the promise. All right. But Esau in the flesh is the elder. OK. But it says, but now they that are younger than I have me in derision, because really now we are the mockery. Okay, the Israelites, we're under the subjection of the Edomites. We've become the mockery. We're the ones in the lower state. Okay, suffering oppression and poverty under these people. Now they have us in derision. It says, whose fathers I would have disdain to set with the dogs of my flock. All right. And we know how these Edomites get down with the animals. All right. There's tons of videos online. You can see it. Okay. We know how they roll. And that's why Job said, I wouldn't even keep these people around the dogs of my flock. All right. Because that's their nature, to do what they do. It says, verse 2, yea, whereto might the strength of their hands profit me, in whom old age was perished. Verse 3, for want and famine they were solitary, fleeing into the wilderness in former time, desolate and waste, right? Pursuing the Malachi 1 and 3, all right? During the dark ages, okay, these Edomites were, they were pushed into the mountains, into the caves, right? Malachi 1 and 3, it says, and I hated Esau, this is the Most High. And I hated Esau and laid his mountains and his heritage waste for the dragons of the wilderness, all right? So we know, according to true history, of how these Edomites were pushed into the mountains and the caves and the clefts of the rock, all right? Going back, all right? This is why, you know, they're acknowledging that pretty much they are the Neanderthals, all right? What's it called? The T word, the troglodytes or something like that. Those cave dwellers, right? Job 30 and 4, who cut up mallows by the bushes and juniper roots, excuse me, and juniper roots for their meat. They were driven forth among men. They cried after them as a thief, right? So Esau was driven into those mountains, into those caves. All right. You know, Esau is the true caveman. Okay, the Neanderthal. To dwell in the cliffs of the valleys and caves of the earth and in the rocks. All right, that was his habitation. Okay, Mount Seir, Petra. All right, it says among the bushes they brayed, under the nettles they were gathered together. Right, they were in that beast-like state. That's why I said Esau is the true. He's the true savage. All right, the beast man, the animal. Okay, this is who he is by nature. All right. It says, verse 8. It says, yeah, verse 8, it says, or verse 7 again, among the bushes they brayed, under the nettles they were gathered together. Verse 8, there were children of fools, yea, children of base men. They were viler than the earth. You see that? And that's the true spirit of the biblical Edomite. All right? They're children of fools, base men, very low level, vile. Okay? That's what it means to be base. You know, they're on a very low moral level. All right? These Edomites are detestable, man. They're an abomination. They were viler than the earth, as we see. Okay? So that's why I was thinking about all of this. Like I said, you know, when I watch these videos, right? Let's go into this real quick. I want to pull this up, right? Just want to read a quick paragraph. All right, so this is from The Delectable Negro. Human consumption and homoeroticism within U.S. slave culture. A lot of shit was going on during slavery, man. What these Edomites was doing to our people. You're talking about heinous crimes, man. All right. Demonic acts that can't be described in words, man. All right. When you read this book. Anyway, I just want to jump to page 7 just to read, to give you an idea what's contained in this book. Right. And Salakia is a little small. Hopefully you can read it on the screen. But I'm just going to jump down here. It says here, it says, this pattern of silencing has resulted in the dismissal of the reality of those enslaved persons who frequently describe slavery as an outgrowth of the master's homoerotic and consumptive appetites, within U.S. slavery, black men and women consistently describe incidents of human consumption that occurred on literal, metaphoric, or institutional levels of social interaction. Okay? It says these incidents often had a homoerotic or sexual charge to them. John S. Jacobs, for example, referred to his former masters as human fleshmongers, possessed of an unnatural hunger for human flesh and soul. You see that? So like I said, all right, yeah, he's doing this to raw animal meat. What you think they're going to be doing when in a time of lawlessness? All right? When there is no boundaries, all right? Where Jake going to be getting snatched up and getting eaten. Okay? Because Esau's already doing this now. There was I think there was a woman somewhere, I forgot what state it was at, but she was like doing rituals and she was eating people in her house. Like this was recently, I want to say about a month or two ago. You know, you'll hear about these stories coming out about these Edomites, you know, pretty much, you know, performing cannibalism. You know, so he's going to revert back to his nature, to that beast, you know, state of mind, if you will. Right? See, Jake has no clue, man. This is why, like we said, Jake really doesn't understand what's getting ready to go down. Right? Let's pull that back up. It says, so it says, John S. Jacobs, for example, referred to his former masters as human fleshmongers, possessed of an unnatural hunger for human flesh and soul. Naked bodies depicted on the auction block, instances of rape and sexualized torture, conceived with hunger and satiation described by Jacobs. For Solomon Northup, the gastronomical enjoyments and excesses of whites included the sexualized treatment of men, such as himself, at the hands of slave catchers, overseers, and masters. Right? See, the shit that Esau was doing back then, this is why the Lord is going to pay Esau back severely, man. Okay? This is why the Lord is going to get rid of Esau. Okay? You see what's going on now. I did the lesson going into, you know, the exposure of the U.S. and NATO and the trafficking that's going on and all of that. Okay? For those who saw the video, it's all coming out. These are the wicked, man. Okay? It says, Harriet Jacobs records an incident in the life of a slave girl, written by herself, how white mistresses acted out hungers for and erotic desires for black women in intimate spaces on plantation. Issues of sexual dominance and white male fixations on black male virility informed the consumption of Nat Turner, right? Because, you know, they ate him. Okay? They did all types of things to his body. All right? And that was a common thing back during the slavery, man, during the times of slavery. And it's still going on now. It says, acknowledging how scholars of U.S. and transatlantic slavery have largely ignored and dismissed accusations of cannibalizing of black Americans, I take the enslaved person's claims of human consumption seriously, and I attempt throughout this project to draw attention to how blacks experience their consumption and as a fundamentally erotic and more specifically homoerotic occurrence, given the taboo nature of homoeroticism in the 19th century. Black people rarely wrote, Salakia, let me find my point. All right, it says, black people barely wrote about same-sex experiences or encounters with whites. In the context of consumption, though this topic was unavoidable, for blacks could not identify, name, and language and concept, negotiate, or resist the culture of human consumption they saw pervading plantation life, without unearthing the erotic implications of their consumption and even more constructing a sexual politics that included homoeroticism. It says, reading on, it says, let me jump down, all right? Because this shit is crazy, right? But this is the truth. This is what happened to our people. And you think Esau not going to pay? You know? Bear with me, Salakia. Trying to get my point back. Bear with me. So it says, man, we was at page 8, right? It says, I'll finish it out, Salakia. Can I make this bigger? Hold on 1 second. Let me see if I can make this a little bigger. There we go. Boom. Okay. So back where we left off on that read, it says, let's start here. It says, amazingly 19th century black Americans without conscious forethought created an entirely new language and symbolic system to describe not just their consumption, but also the deeper homoerotic nuances of black life under slavery, linking this personal reality to a larger national political terrain. They develop strategies of resistance, of a politics of moral accountability, and social vision of human consumption that implicated the most cherished values and tenets of the Republic, man. So these white people are demonic, man. These Edomites are demonic, all right? But my point of going through this lesson is that they're going to revert back to their true nature in the time to come of lawlessness is the point, man. All right? You're seeing the Lord is giving you a display of who they are, man. You know? Jeremiah 30 and verse 4 says, and these are the words that the Lord, Yahweh Shemel Shai, spake concerning Israel and concerning Judah. For thus saith the Lord, Yahweh Shemel Shai, we have heard a voice of trembling, fear, and not of peace. Right? Ask ye now and see whether a man doeth travail with child. Wherefore do I see every man with his hands on his loins, as a woman in travail, and all faces are turned into paleness. Alas, for that day is great, so that none is like it. It is even the time of Jacob's trouble, but he shall be saved out of it. So the point, all right, the elect is going to be saved out of that time. But it said it is even the time of Jacob's trouble. So a time like no other is coming, man. All right, where Esau is going to fully unleash. You're really going to see his real nature. He's going to go back to the things that he was doing in the time of slavery, man. Right? So that's what I was thinking about when I saw these clips, man. I'm like, man, you know, but it's all spiritual. All right? So I'll leave it like that. Like I said, you can read this book on your own. Check it out, man. All right? It's detestable, man. And it builds a perfect hatred for Esau, man. All right? And now you understand why the Lord said what he said on how he's going to utterly annihilate the house of Esau, man. Shalom.